Jackson. On behalf of my co-hosts Isaac Simpson and Maria Perry, I'd like to welcome you to this episode of Short on Shorts. Our special guest reviewer this week is actress and TV personality Nina Senicar, and the third film we reviewed was Cutaway, directed by Kazik Radwanski. Make sure to check it out before watching our review at the link below. Enjoy the movie and our review.
Our next film is Cutaway, written and directed by Kazik Radwanski and starring Tanya Castle-Gouvet, Caitlin McIntosh, and Becky E. Shrimpton. It is a film composed all of cutaway shots, and it's basically of a guy's hands as he goes through his life as a lover and as a worker. He's a construction worker during the day, and he faces problems, and it's just seeing his hands the entire time. It's a very beautiful film. It was selected for Clermont-Ferrand, which I think we can agree is basically the best short film festival on earth. It's kind of the Cannes of short films, even though Cannes also has short films. And it's a gorgeous film. It was Nina's pick. Nina, how did you find this, and what struck you about it?
Oh God, I just randomly found it. I was looking through one of the websites that had selections of short movies that came out recently, and I literally fell in love with it. It was a love at first sight. It was so beautiful, so simple, and just nowadays with all the technology and all the effects and all the mess, it's just like it seems like it's a competition who's going to use more stuff and who's going to do something more over the top. And this is just one guy's hand, and you just watch that for how long? Like 10 minutes, and it's all you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need I never felt the need to see the face. Like literally, it's all about a hand, and it was just different for me. It was just, I think, everything we do is all about finding new perspectives and finding new ways to show something, and this was just, I don't know, I just really fell in love with it.
Yeah, I also found it very beautiful, and it told a whole story that was very relatable just from looking at these people's hands. It's called Cutaway. It's based on cutaway shots. Kevin, what is a cutaway shot?
Basically, a cutaway shot is kind of exactly what it implies. It's just you're cutting to something else. It's basically like a thing in the scene that you cut to sort of insert between other shots is basically what a cutaway is. So for example, a cutaway in this shot might be a shot of your coffee cup, right? And especially your coffee cup when something's happening with it, like when Nina's picking it up, for example, right? That might be a cutaway. We might want to cut away to her, a close-up of just her hand picking up the cup, for example. That would be a cutaway.
Do it again.
There you go. We just might.
And why is that helpful? Like, why is a cutaway shot something that helps tell a story?
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that, but what I can answer it from my perspective, from a storytelling standpoint, and also from just a practical standpoint. From a practical standpoint, if you don't have cutaways, you're going to be screwed in editing a lot of the time, right? Because there are going to be, especially on lower budget movies where you can't go back and do reshoots and you can't shoot things 100 times to begin with, right? You're really, really limited. A cutaway helps you cover mistakes, right? That's the practical reason for them. But they also help you, from a storytelling perspective, they help you create perspective, and they help you change perspective, and they help you put focus on specific details that you wouldn't otherwise notice. Because, I mean, using that as, the coffee cup as an example again, you would never ever be looking at this shot, and I mean, most people, of course, you wouldn't think of the coffee cup, right? Until I, the director, choose to make you look at the coffee cup for some specific reason. So it's a way to force focus.
Yeah, you can really smooth together something. And what's so interesting about short films in general, and this film, is that it's exploring the limits of the medium, and it's really teaching us something about the power of these visual images and how they can be used in these really different ways. And I just found this to be so interesting and dramatic, and it makes you feel something even though you never see anybody, I mean, a
movie like this is the reason I love this show, I have to say. This is the second movie that we reviewed, and the first one is Alexander Yan, is that his name? Mm-hmm. It was the Alexander Yan movie. where it's just a completely different way of telling a story. A way that I would have never thought of, that I would never do, that I was really, really skeptical of at first. I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing, right? And then you sort of let go of your expectations, your prejudices, and you just say, okay, I'm just gonna see what happens. And it winds up affecting you, and it starts affecting you, and you can't believe it's affecting you because you're like, I can't even see his face. How am I caring about any of this, right? But you do, amazingly. You start to really, really get involved in this guy's life and care when the thing, I'm not gonna ruin this one, I promise, I won't give away this one. You really care when the big thing happens to him. It really hits home.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you could do that and never once see the guy's face.
But also going back to the cutaway shot, just the little things like, the girlfriend, her chopped nail polish, or the broken screen on his phone. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that make you realize even in a regular movie, if you see some kind of shot like that, that will show you, maybe the kind of person that is, or the class,
exactly.
society, or
very true.
She doesn't have a polished nail, like manicured nails or stuff. So
it was very clearly like working class people, and you got so much of that just from the tiny, like you're saying, like the chipped nails and his crack screen and he even has like a little tryst in the middle of it. You know what I mean? It gets kind of like explicit at this one point, which is really cool. Yeah. Maria, what did you think? You haven't said
it actually, because there is no dialogue, which is kind of a running theme. I think 3 of our movies this time had no dialogue, right?
Holy crap. That's
you missed
true.
that one.
Dang,
Well done.
I did miss that.
Good job standing out once again.
Yeah, that's true. I was trying to find the theme. 3 of them have one-word titles.
Oh,
But we didn't have a 4.
Yeah.
3 out of 4 is not bad, though.
That's not too shabby.
Anyway,
but this felt to me like, have you run across the 6-word stories?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This reminded me a lot of like the visual representation of one of those. And there's one in like particular that jumps to mind. But I feel like that's too much of a spoiler, so I'm not going to point at it.
I know the one you're talking about. It's the most famous one.
Of course.
What, Hemingway wrote
Hemingway.
it? Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're watching this, it feels like somebody went, okay, well, here's a really strong way to say a lot with very little, and how do I turn that into a visual medium? So that's what this feels like to me, and I was really a fan of it.
We're not going to spoil it by saying that 6-word Hemingway story. The 6-word Hemingway story is for sale, baby shoes, never worn.
Okay.
And it's like it was a challenge to tell this story in only 6 words. And it's like a very powerful story. You know what I mean? Just in those 6 words.
And I mean, I'm somebody who gets frustrated with poetry because I feel like most of the time this could be a good story but doesn't have enough words. But every now and then one of those 6-word stories just really does it for me. And I feel like this is one of those things where I could very easily have been very frustrated because there weren't enough words. Or there wasn't enough, like it's such a small screen, like there's not, but they really like worked every portion of that screen. Like you said, there's so many small details that just build this world for you, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times no dialogue movies feel like a gimmick, and this, it never even occurred to you that it was a gimmick.
Well, I think this was a gimmick, but it was just a very well done, it was very well done, and it's a gimmick, you know?
I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's how to tell as much as possible with as little as possible,
Right.
and the cutaway is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very well done.
Well, this guy has two features, actually. I think he's kind of an up-and-coming director in Canada. He's got How Heavy This Hammer, which premiered at TIFF, which you were at, and he has another one called Tower. And I think he's very concerned with sort of lonely souls. Just one more question before we go. In the end, and this doesn't spoil anything at all, but he's breaking something. What did you think that? I thought the whole time that at the end he was going to be building something that we were going to see, because there's a construction theme. But then in the end he ends up breaking something.
Well, I thought so too. I thought we were gonna see what he's building. That you're right, but I kind of like this ending. It was, it was unpredictable. It was, I don't know, the state of his mind after all that had happened. that we're not gonna say.
You have to remind me. Is it the cinder blocks? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I feel like the whole movie, he's building up to something, and then that something really falls through for him, and that's a very good visual representation of that affecting his work as well, where you kind of have to start from ground zero again.
Right.
Yeah. One other thing, actually, so the cast is all female. So I think those hands are actually a woman's.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And I watched it again, and I think that
I think
they're
really?
women's hands. I watched it again, and I was like, "Is there any way those could be women's hands?"
Wow.
I think
So is that her ultrasound then?
no, I think he is definitely supposed to be a man.
Man, yeah.
Because they say in the description, single man, but I think that
And during the messages, she refers to
it's
him as
obviously
yeah.
like a guy. But I think
Let's not confuse people.
The character is male.
Yeah, definitely. But
the
now,
character
like,
is male, but I think it's played by a woman, which is really interesting.
are you
'Cause
sure?
think
Maybe it's like a European name. That maybe it's like.
Tanya, Caitlin, Becky. None of those can be.
No, you're definitely right. You're definitely right.
Wow.
I mean, unless
Wow.
he's just not listed. But I looked at the hands, and I think they actually could be.
Either way, they're
women's
very
hands.
attractive hands. Like, that works
Yeah.
for me, so.
Yeah.
And good for you that you were so dedicated.
Well, those hands are a perfect example of a cutaway, right?
Yeah.
And of what Nina was saying, of a cutaway, of being able to tell you so much about a person with just an image, right?
Yeah.
You knew so much about that guy just from his hands, just because of, they weren't, I mean, if they were perfectly manicured hands, that would say one thing. These were obviously very worn hands that were very, he had cuts all over them, and scars, and I mean, it says so much about who he is just from his hands. Thanks for watching. If you want more information about how Short on Shorts works, or how you can submit your film for consideration, or if you want to watch more episodes of Short on Shorts, click on the link at the end of this video if you're watching on Facebook, or in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. See you next time.